Hi there, welcome to season 13 of TQA Weekly, and this week we're going to be answering the question of why part of your RAM cannot be used. My name is Steve, this is TQA Weekly, and your computer is a complex device that requires the use of a processor, BIOS chips, and other processing chips on board to provide all of the information and power necessary for the tasks your computer was designed to do, both hardware and software. So both of these are very important to look at when we are trying to figure out why a portion of your RAM is not accessible to you when you're in your operating system. So in the case of desktops and laptops, a portion of the RAM can be dedicated to the CPU for integrated graphics. In this case, you would have a fraction of your RAM that seemingly is not present. It's not gone, it's just provided to integrated graphics. If you have a dedicated graphics card and you had the option to turn off integrated graphics, that RAM will come right back. The next thing is that we have to analyze the mainboards themselves. The mainboard can have a maximum supported amount of RAM, and it is possible for it to accept it as a single DIMM of RAM. So it is possible that you install as much as 32 gigs of RAM, but the mainboard itself was only designed for 16, even if you have 2 bars of 16 in it. It just wouldn't be able to access the rest of it. Sometimes mainboards are just made like that for really small amounts of RAM. They're usually inexpensive or really small boards. Then the next thing that can be limiting you can be the operating system itself. It could be guilty, by the way, of limiting available RAM and locking it as a feature. If you have Windows 10 Home and you have more than 128 gigs of RAM, you will notice that you can only use the first 128 gigs. This is by design by Windows. They want you to use Windows 10 Professional instead. So it's a feature in this case. However, that being said, if you have an unlicensed copy of Windows, the same thing could happen, and you would have to get a valid serial number for it to actually work. So that is a possibility in which the operating system is actually responsible for you not being able to use it. At one point, it was the processor just being 32-bit as opposed to 64-bit, but you know what? There's that, and that could also apply to your operating system, although 32-bit operating systems kind of don't really exist anymore unless we're talking about small form factor devices. And all that was assuming that your RAM worked in the first place. The next points are that the RAM itself doesn't work and your BIOS is unaware of it for some reason and it just booted, which is exceptionally rare. Something really bad had to happen to the RAM that made it invisible to your BIOS and allowed it to boot the computer, because computers normally do not boot if the RAM is completely defective. So if the RAM is defective to the point where even the BIOS is unaware of it, that might be a reason why you're not able to use part of that RAM, although that is extremely unlikely. And the other reason that is possible that your system wouldn't be able to see it is that it's incompatible. But again, most of the time your computer simply will not boot, saying there's a memory error. So if the RAM is incompatible or completely defective, that would actually allow your system to show less RAM. But in those cases, typically your computer won't boot. And if you have bad sectors on your RAM, normally Windows won't even let you boot, citing that very specific fact. So if you're missing RAM in your computer, these are the reasons why. Now, like this episode if you like it, dislike it if you didn't, share with those you think could benefit from this, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions for topics, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com or go to my website, tqaweekly.com, where you can see the show notes on this episode, past others, find other ways of subscribing, and use a contact form to email me directly. And if you want to see me play video games, head over to twitch.tv/ZAccess1981, where I play every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.